Wendy Williams was on The Breakfast Club this morning, and she's saying that she doesn't have agency over her life decisions. So like where she lives, how her assets, property, money, finances are being managed. But she, nor it seems her son, has full discretion over her life. It brings up a point that I believe bears a conversation.
Fort Wayne, Indiana. Get ready to laugh.
And then I thought about it. Could you imagine the pressure that would have been if Jesus had been there?
So you mean tell me you've been gone for 40 days and I'm supposed to believe you were just in the woods fasting and praying?
Akintunde Live 3025 Comedy Tour. Coming to True Love Missionary Baptist Church, February 14th, 7 o'clock p.m. From BET, Amazon Prime, Tubi, and Showtime at the Apollo. It's Dove Comedy Award winner Akintunde with special guest Donald Martin. One night only, celebrating 30 years in stand-up comedy. Get tickets now by logging on to IamAkintunde.com. That's IamAkintunde.com.
Remember when Grandma was dependable? Call Grandma now. Child, I ain't got time to watch no kids, baby. I'm going to see Medea tonight. I ain't got time to watch no kids.
WF Media Group and Joke Farm Records presents Akintunde Live 3025 Comedy Tour. Joke Farm!
All right, y'all. So this current Wendy Williams situation that is happening right now in real time, if you are watching this today, which is January 16th, 2025, is currently happening today. I just saw it today. Let me preface before I get into it by saying this. Y'all know I don't do gossip. I don't sit around and talk about people's business because I got a whole bunch of business of my own, a whole lot of life of my own to live without being involved in anybody else's business or giving my opinion about somebody else's life choices or life circumstances. So I don't do that. But this situation that Wendy Williams has put out there for us to decipher, to consider, it brings up an interesting point. So in case you missed it, so like where she lives, how her assets, property, money, finances are being managed. She doesn't have money. She says she has $15 to her name. Of course, she has much more than that in assets. She has to get permission to spend any significant amount of money. She has to get permission to go anywhere. She is living like someone who is in the middle, maybe early or even late stages of dementia, and she doesn't have control over her life. Okay, this she put this out there, not me. I'm not searching. This ain't gossip, right? But it brings up an interesting point. Not so much of how that happens, because I don't really know all the details. So I could pontificate, I could consider, I could reflect, I could do a deep dive or research. That ain't none of my business. But because she put it out there, it brings up a point that I believe bears a conversation. And that is, today, a lot of African Americans are not getting married. So because we're not getting married, that means in later stages of life, we don't have the type of traditional relationships in place that oftentimes will insulate you from being in a situation like that. Now, to be clear, I don't know all the circumstances. I'm not involved in her marriage. I don't know what happened there. That ain't none of my business. I'm not commenting on that. But what I am talking about is the fact that a woman who made millions of dollars in her lifetime, I don't know how much money she has or how much she generated, but she generated a significant amount of money over the years. And she does have a son. But she, nor it seems her son, has full discretion over her life. Now, this is perplexing to me. It's extremely confusing. That means nobody else around you can make decisions. There's some third party person, like similar to what happened with Michael Jackson in some of his later years, or even now Prince, who didn't leave a will. Other people making decisions about his assets, his finances, and gave his family some money, and they wound up selling some of his assets, but they still didn't have discretion over their brother, their siblings' financial. His assets, what was left to him, what he left here. So that brings up a point that must be considered. Who is going to look out for you when it really matters? Particularly because not just that we're not getting married, But many people are opting not to have children. So if you make a concerted decision to not have children, you don't have, if you do have children, maybe you don't have the best relationships with them. These men and women. If you may not have a good relationship with your ex, who's going to watch your back if it all comes down to it? Who going to look out for you? Who going to step up and say, oh no, my mama wouldn't want that. No, my daddy wouldn't want that. No, I know my mama would not want that. No, my mama would want to be revived. No, my daddy would want somebody to revive him. No, my daddy would want to have the surgery. No, my mama wouldn't want her last days to be like this. Whatever it is, whether you would want, whether you have a DNR, do not resuscitate, or whether you have fight to the end, whatever your decisions are, who is going to rock for you when it all comes down to it? Do you have a relationship with your kids that if they're on the other side of the country, who gonna fly over here to check on you at a moment's notice? Oh my God, my mama just fell. Oh, my daddy just had an accident. Oh, my daddy is dealing with this. My mama's dealing with that. I gotta hop on a plane. I don't know when I'm coming back to work, but I gotta go to South Carolina. I gotta go to California and check on my mama and my dad. I gotta fly to New York and check on my aunt, my uncle, my aunt. Who's gonna do that for you? Who's the person who's gonna look out for you? Or is somebody gonna say, man, bump daddy? Why I got to fly across the country to go look for him when he couldn't drive across town to one of my basketball games? Man, bump him. Why I got to look out for mama? Mama ain't look out for me. She ain't cared about us. She was running the street. Daddy ain't care. Why I got to be worried about him? Why I got to inconvenience myself? I got a family. Oh, I got a husband. Oh, I got children. I don't have time to be looking out for my daddy. Do you have those type of relationships with people around you? Don't get mad with me for what I'm about to say, because I know a lot of us today, we have fur babies. Our pets are our children. Pets cannot make sure that you took your medicine. Pets cannot say, hey, is your blood pressure high? You don't look good. And I'm not being facetious, trust me. But your dog ain't gonna come to you and say, hey, I think you need to slow down. Hey, did you take your medicine today? Hey, we might want to call an ambulance. Although there are some service pets who do stuff like that. But most of us don't have that. Most of us have these old dependent dogs that we gotta feed and we gotta train. They're not watching for the small things. You fall out, that dog will be right there licking your face for 3-4 days till somebody come find you. And that's real talk. Who is going to be there for you when it really matters? Now, what's crazy about this whole situation with Wendy Williams. Months ago, about 2 months ago, I wound up watching this movie on Netflix. I ran across it. I was kind of like one of them nights. I said, you know what? I'm tired. I'm gonna watch me a movie tonight. So I pulled up this movie called I Care a Lot, and I was like, what's this? It was something about the, whatever the preview of it wasn't a full trailer, but it was something about whatever the clip was that made me say, this is interesting. So I pulled it up and I watched it. And sometimes I'm watching movies not to watch the whole movie. Truth be told, if I'm being honest, sometimes I'll watch something to fall asleep. I'm like, I know I ain't about to watch all this, but I'm tired. I need to shut my mind down. I need to go to bed because I got to be up at 5 or 6. So I'm going to watch this right here and shut down. This thing got me. Because it was about this woman who was taking advantage of elderly people, and some of them were not like really that old, but she had these skills and she had a system set up to take advantage of people and take over their assets and then like take over their entire lives, their medicine, where they lived, their coming and going, their assets, selling their houses, selling their assets, their jewelry, their cash, their cars, their vehicle. She had a whole system where her and her live-in girlfriend or whatever was taking advantage of people. They had a whole company. I was like, whoa. And I was like, is this real? Is this legal? And it's real. It's legal. That's a real thing. It's people out there doing this and making money off people who they don't even care nothing about. They're not their family, not their cousin, they're not their friend, they're not a long time person who's been in their life. They just control their life all of a sudden. How do we get to that point? Now, I'm about to say something that's going to make a lot of people mad. brace yourself for what I'm about to say, and do not get upset or offended by what I'm about to say. My concern is that in the future, over the next 10, 20, definitely 20 years, 30 years, one of the biggest industries in the world will be retirement communities for older black women and older black men, but older black women first. And I say that because a lot less women are getting married today. That's just a fact. And then a lot less women are having children today. So there was a time when you at least had your kids. Situation with your husband, for whatever reason, might not have been good. He might have been hot garbage, or you might have been hot garbage. But at least you had your kids. Now sometimes we don't have that. Who is going to look out for you when it really matters? Who do you have relationships with? Do you alienate your grandchildren? Do you alienate your daughter-in-law or son-in-law? If nobody don't want to mess with you, who going to look out for you? I saw some utter foolishness the other day that shocked me. This is a trend with men, particularly young men like 28, 35, 40. Some of these dudes not getting married no more. This is the new foolishness. I'm going to do a whole show about this. They got something called companion dolls. Yes. I know some of y'all like, what? That's what I said. What? They got dolls that's life size, that's shapely, built like a woman. Some of them they got animatronic movements and they move like a woman. They got skin similar to a woman. Some of them they have sexual manipulated fake artificial sexual organs. So some of these cats, some of these dudes is sitting up having sex with dolls. Yeah, let that sink in for a minute. And there's a dude on YouTube. He had a whole channel about it. He was sitting up there in his room. Looked like he lived in his mama bedroom, like a bedroom at his mama house. I don't know that for sure. I'm being judgmental. I am, but just it had the look of a dude who lived with their mama. The room did. And then looked like a grown man who lived on his own room. The way it was closed off. He was sitting up. He had two companion dolls, and he was doing a whole video comparing the two. And I was like, "What? That's what we doing now? Ooh, what? That's a new low. That ain't good." And I know somebody got a problem with what I'm saying. I know somebody gonna come in the comments and tell me what I shouldn't be speaking on and share it or whatever. I know I get it, but it's the truth. That's a new low. When you have opted out of marriage and opting out of a relationship with a real woman, and now you got two ladies, two artificial ladies. Ooh, he all but said it. Them companion dolls, they don't talk back. They don't give it a bunch of grief. And then he had one of them. He must have custom made her. She was shapely. She did all kind of sexual moves and all kind of movements. I was like, what? Are you serious? Let me just say this before I wrap up. You will never replace the feeling of the skin, of the peace, of the love from a real woman with a companion doll. And if you think that's the case, once you get a real woman, you'll realize, oh my God, what was I doing? How much time did I waste on this foolishness? This hot garbage. What I'm saying is our current life decisions have to line up with the life that we want to have in 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Because here's what's crazy. People living longer. So who want to live long and you can't even spend your money the way you want to? You got to get permission from somebody else, like Wendy Williams said, to buy her son a car for his graduation. When you made millions of dollars over the years on television and radio. That's crazy. So drop in the comments. What's your thoughts about this Wendy Williams situation? And don't judge Wendy. in this moment. I need y'all not to do that. I don't do that. So don't sit here and judge Wendy. Don't do a bunch of comments. The whole karma comments. This is her karma from talking about people and all that stuff. I ain't trying to get into all that talk right now. I'm just talking about the situation at hand, which is here's a woman who seems to be lucid, who seems to be clear, even if she had a spell where maybe she had some or exhibited some type of behaviors that displayed dementia. But in that moment of that interview, she was calling from a facility on a phone that where people could not call her. She could only call out. She could only make those phone calls during certain times. Someone else had to give her permission to make that phone call. She was living in a facility that her money pays for, where she can order food. She lives in a room, and clearly neither her nor her son or no one else has full discretion over her decisions besides a third-party individual that she says she don't really even know. What the heck is going on? So the question is for you, who gonna look out for you when you were in your later stages of life or a stage of need or just at some point incapacitated? Last thing I'll say is this. Months ago, my sister and I had to put our mother in the hospital because of something that happened to her. Praise God, it didn't last long. A few weeks, she had made a full recovery. But for a few days, she was going through. In a couple of days, she was in the hospital. So we were sitting in the hospital in Savannah, Georgia. We're sitting in the hallway because post-COVID, they put you in the hallway now as opposed to if they don't have a room for you. I'm not arguing that or discussing that point right now. But we're sitting on the edge, the corner of the wall in the hall. My mother's in the bed. She's sleeping. My sister and I are sitting like at the foot of her hospital bed in the hall, just kind of waiting for the doctor and all the tests and go through the whole process and figure out what's going on. On the very next side of the wall, like probably 7 feet at the most, was another family whose mother, which we didn't realize, was in the final stages of her life. True story. And I felt for that family because I was like, oh my God. And it was interesting because the brother was saying, I think we should fight for mom as long as she fighting. Sister was like, I don't want her to suffer. The doctor was like, well, it's hard on her. The brother was like, I know she want us to fight. The sister was like, I don't want her to feel like she's being a burden to us. Slightly paraphrasing what she said. And I was like, in that moment, because within a couple of hours, that woman had transitioned. Matter of fact, I went to the car, came back, and I went to the car, went and got something to eat or something like that, came back to the hospital. When I came back, the funeral car and the funeral stretcher was outside of her room, the room where she was. I said, oh man. I was like, And I was like, I wonder who made the final decision. Who decided we're not gonna resuscitate her? All of these are weighty decisions. I'm not judging anybody. But all I'm saying is somebody need to know what you want. Somebody need to know, oh, heaven no. If her heart's still pumping, she want to live. No, bring her back. No, go get the machine. No, put her on it. She want to live. And she set it up as such, whether it's her will or her power of attorney or whatever document that needs to be signed to say, no, she said fight. No, she said she want the medicine. No, she said she had the surgery. Somebody need to know that on your behalf. And not just have somebody who may or may not have your best interest at heart. That's all I'm saying.
Statesboro, Georgia. Get ready to laugh.
And then I thought about it. Could you imagine the pressure that would have been if Jesus had been there?
So you mean to tell me you've been gone for 40 days, and I'm supposed to believe you just in the woods fasting and praying?
Akintunde Live 3025 Comedy Tour. Coming to Spirit and Truth Worship Center. February 22nd, 6 o'clock p.m. From BET, Amazon Prime, Tubi, and Showtime at the Apollo, it's Dove Comedy Award winner Akintunde with special guest Rod Minger, plus DJ Geechee Man. One night only, celebrating 30 years in stand-up comedy. Get tickets now by logging on to IamAkintunde.com. That's AKINTUNDE.com.
Remember when Grandma was dependable? Call Grandma now. Child, I ain't got time to watch no kids, baby. I'm going to see Medea tonight. I ain't got time to watch no kids.
WF Media Group and Joke Farm Records presents Akintunde Live 3025 Comedy Tour.